Welcome to a ride on the outside. MMA is full of people on the inside. But what about the ones that watch from beyond? Welcome to the MMA Outsiders with Tom Albano and Zain Bando on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network.
All right, here we are. MMA Outsiders, Tom Albano, Zain Bando. I apologize if I sound like I'm in a rush, but as you guys know, I do some stuff with the PFL. Cards going on, so we got to try to make this as quick as possible. I'm going to read the statement officially from Ariel Helwani. Now that the Saudi main event situation has been resolved, and he's talking about a whole other situation with Khamzat Chimaev now going down with injury, complete utter chaos there. Pardon me, not injury, illness. He's currently in the hospital with a violently ill illness. We don't know it specifically. All the focus is on 303. They have a new main event lined up that does not include Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. Confirmed. McGregor, Chandler, done. They also have a new co-main event lined up. For those who didn't hear, Jamal Hill has suffered an injury, so the scheduled co-main event is also now off. UFC 303 is in utter chaos.
Yeah, it's in utter chaos for sure, but assuming that what we're hearing is accurate, I think the potentially newly scheduled main event, which has not been confirmed at the time that we're recording this, has a chance to maybe even outdo McGregor Chandler from an excitement standpoint. So maybe UFC 303 isn't so dead after all. But you want to talk about massive scramble mode? That's what today has been. That's what yesterday has been. That's what the last 3 weeks have been. And now we're finally at a time and place where, with 2 weeks to go, it seems like we have a little bit more clarity as to what is actually going on with this card, which is better than which is better than where we were a couple of days ago. And although there's still a lot of dominoes to figure out, I'm a little bit more hopeful that UFC 303 will still happen, which is a good thing.
Okay, continuing on with Ariel's statement, the consensus seems to be that they want to announce it all and a new date for McGregor and Chandler. McGregor Chandler, as you see with the description there under us, it is postponed. The plan is to not put off. The plan is to not never do the fight. They still want to do the fight. They are hoping for either August or September. And as Ariel continuing, and that would mean creating a new pay-per-view date those months. August 31st and September 28th have been discussed. That part, which is massive in all this, has not been finalized. Hence why there's been the delay. Lots of moving parts. No talk, by the way, has centered around Chandler fighting someone else on 303. That was once discussed at the very beginning of all this, but nothing made sense. The plan, at least as of right now, seems to just move it to later this year, as we talked about on MMA Outsiders, and there was that potential that Max Holloway could do a fill-in, but Max Holloway, having fought 5 hard rounds with Justin Gaethje in April, the medical suspension, which we don't know because Nevada doesn't release that information anymore. Sorry, we got a little distracted. Combined with the fact that we've never seen Holloway fought by 170, there just was nothing there that made sense as exciting of a fight that it could be. So we now shift over to other ideas. Magic MMA has been talking about the idea of Yuri versus Alex happening at some point in the summer. The plan of Alex Pereira defending against Yuri Prohaska, the rematch, October 7th, UFC 307. That now might end up being the main event of UFC 303. UFC 303 has also potentially added Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez as a sudden co-main event. Carlos Ulberg, by the sound of it, will remain on the card, but his fight will be lowered to somewhere else in the card, not co-main event.
Yeah, definitely an interesting shakeup for sure. And just to give you guys a little bit more context, those dates that you had just alluded to, Tom, August 31st and September 28th, those are currently being targeted for Tampa and Paris. So we all know that if it is one of those 2 dates, they'll have to reshuffle in some way. But it'll be very interesting to see what the UFC does, assuming that they choose to move forward and try to reschedule this fight, which is something that I was not initially expecting. But I guess for those of you that were looking forward to seeing McGregor Chandler, not all hope has been lost there to a certain extent. So
Yeah, not all hope has been lost. I mean, it's still going to be done. But here's my question, Zan. If we do August 31st, are we really going to do August 17th, August 31st, and then September 16th at the Sphere back to back to back? And even more insane, are you really going to do September 16th at the Sphere, whatever, October 7th, and Abu Dhabi? That's 4 pay-per-views in the span of a month and a half.
I think they'd have to push the Spirit date back. That's what I think. I think they move it off of September 16th and they move it to a totally different date. And who knows, maybe even a totally different month. They may still have the Spirit show. It might just be in a totally different window of 2024 or maybe even 2025. That's my early guess at the moment for that.
Fair enough. So, I mean, look, it's frustrating. In my honest opinion, that means McGregor must have suffered the leg that he broke a few years ago. He must have re-aggravated in fight camp at this point.
Well, there's not much I can really say to that front, but I can tell you that the scoop that I did here regarding this had nothing to do with with an injuries. Well, that was debunked right away. The reason why this fight was canceled was not due to anything on the injury front, from what I heard. So,
So is it a contract dispute then?
to a certain extent, yeah, but that's all I can really say about it without getting into too much detail.
Which if that's true, Zan, that just makes me even more frustrated about all this because why the is Conor McGregor? I get it. We've talked about the idea that maybe Conor is holding out with 2 fights left, trying to get as much money from the UFC as possible. But I try to be professional here, but I'll say you fuck the fans. You fuck the fans. Everyone who's paid to go to UFC 303, you fuck them.
Yeah, you definitely screwed over the fans, number one, and number two, you screwed the Irish locals by not having the press conference when you were supposed to have it, and postponed it with A, very little warning, and B, very little clarification as to if or when it would be rescheduled, which obviously it never was.
So if this is the case, Zan, does that mean if McGregor does all this and he loses in August, September, whatever, would it just be best for all parties involved to just put the gloves down?
Absolutely, yeah. He's won. He's won one fight in 4 years and two fights in 8 years. Seems pretty simple to me. Yeah.
It's absolutely frustrating to see all this chaos. And like I said, on top of that, Hamza Chimaev now being out of next week. Thankfully, Ikram Askarov has stepped up, and that's going to be a big opportunity for him.
Huge opportunity.
And then you also have I know they talked about 305 because when I actually reached out to Magic and I said, okay, his tweet said Erie versus Potam was gonna happen in August. So I said, what does that mean then for Izzy DDP? But if this short notice fight, if it's gonna be a light heavyweight title fight now, I'm hopeful that means Izzy DDP isn't getting booked off of August. Like, I know it could have just been a co-main event, but not with the kind of rivalry and bad blood that they have.
Oh
So,
no! Oh no!
and if you're the UFC, you can't afford to lose that after this disastrous start to summer.
Right, 100%.
So, all right, have we gotten to everything at this point?
I think so. Oh yeah. As for those of you who aren't paying attention, the PFL Connecticut main card just started, which means unfortunately it's time for us to get out of here. It's this. It's thank you again for tuning in. There's going to be 300 of you who tuned in. We can't thank you enough for coming in on a random Thursday night to talk about all this madness. But we'll be back with so much more for episode 88 of the MMA Outsiders. So we'll see you guys then next week. But for now, UFC 303 McGregor and Chandler has been postponed and more to come. So,
All right.